Hello, everybody. How are you doing out there? I wanted to see how you all are. I wanted to speak to you directly this month rather than just writing to you in our monthly newsletter because of all the new things that we're going through in our lives at the moment, all the changes and the uncertainties and the things that we're just not used to. So I wanted to check in with you, see how you're all doing. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. I hope you're all staying safe and well, and we're all in lockdown and we are just making the best of the situation that we're in. So at the moment, Sea-Watch is working in a very different way. We are, all the staff, Peter, Catherine, Chiara and myself, we're all working from home, staying safe, listening to the government's guidelines and or instructions, I should say. And that means that we are all being very productive, working hard. From our homes, we are communicating with each other every day, which is good. And the only downside of what's going on with, well, not the only downside, one of the main downsides for us is the fact that we can't open our visitor centre in Newquay at the moment, which is a real shame because we were all excited and ready to open our doors to actually lots of visitors just this weekend gone, which would have been our first weekend. And then we would have seen lots and lots of families, grandparents, parents and children, maybe even some adopters over the Easter week or 2 weeks. So that would have been really good. We were looking forward to doing some educational things, book readings and fundraisers and our cake sales and beach competitions, things like that. So we're really sad about that. But obviously we have to carry on going and do the best we can in the situation that we're in. I wanted to talk to you about some of the many positive things that are going on at the moment because of this virus. Positive things within the natural world and with wildlife and our environment. So the first one is because we're not traveling on planes, we're not flying on holiday, we're not flying for work, we're not traveling on boats and ships, we're not driving around. Mainly we're not driving around unless we have to. So all those contribute together towards reducing our impact on the environment, which is really good. So our emissions are currently a lot lower than normal, and combined that is going to make a big difference, although it's only a short time period that this is happening and going to continue happening. So it's, I don't know, at the moment it's 3 weeks that we're in this situation, but it may go on longer, we don't know. It may be a month, it may be 2 months, who knows. But that time period, in terms of the effect on the environment, is quite small, considering that humans and our behaviour, our emissions over the years have created the problem that we have now with climate change. We ideally would have this situation of not driving and not travelling for a lot longer, but it's still a positive. It's a short space of time that we're not doing these things, and it will make a difference. So that's good. The other thing is, as I said to you, we're all working from home. So we're working from a distance. And I hope that if we're successful doing that, then more people and more companies will see this as a good thing. and they may promote working from home more in the future. So that would be really good, because then that would mean the positive effects on the environment would be over a longer time period, so longer term. So you would really start to see these positive effects on the environment if we did it, you know, for years, and companies decided that numbers of staff can work from home over a long period of time. So that's good. Yeah, we're looking at less activity at sea, because we're not all going out on boats, ships aren't traveling, goods aren't being exported and imported as normal. So with less activity at sea, that also has a great impact on marine mammals and the marine environment. So there's less disturbance. Oh, let me turn that off. There's less disturbance to our marine environment, which is great. So the effect that that has on whales and dolphins and porpoise is there's less noise disturbance, which is perfect for them, and a lower risk of strikes from ships. So with fewer vessels and ships in the ocean, there's less chance that whales and dolphins will encounter them and end up being hit by these vessels. So that's a really big positive. And I don't know if our fishing activity has been reduced. I'm not sure about this, but if it has, which I can imagine it has to a certain extent, that will also ease the pressure on the numbers of fish. So that will ease the pressure on our fish stocks, which is really good. So while we're not out there catching fish, the whales and dolphins will have more to eat. So there's less competition for food. And the levels of fish can come up. So the numbers of fish will be more numerous. Different species of fish, we'll see more of them, which is brilliant. And the few things that I did want to just mention, I've got some written down here, and I've been looking on the internet as well, at some of the things that we're seeing around the world during this lockdown in terms of the environment and the impact it's having. So I've opened up a few pages here. Let's have a look. Classic FM, on their website, they're talking about the canals in Venice. They're seeing big changes in the canals because there are no boats traveling around. So the boats aren't churning up the bottom of the canal. So the sediment and the mud is not being churned up, so it's being allowed to settle. So the canals are lovely and clear at the moment, as we haven't seen them in many, many years. So we're actually seeing fish quite clearly in the canals in Venice. So that's a big change. Apparently, the Italians are seeing dolphins on the south coast. Let me see here. So if we go back to the canal story, that's they're saying that they are the clearest that they've seen in 60 years. That's amazing. And they're saying they're seeing dolphins spotted in southern Italy, swimming in much, much clearer water. So that's that is what Classic FM have been talking about, and they've got some great pictures on there of the canals and all the wildlife that they're seeing in the canals. So swans breeding and bird life. So they're saying that it's clear for the first time in forever. So that's really good. Someone has reported that they're seeing boars in the middle of their hometown, whereas boars wouldn't have roamed into busy areas normally, but boars are returning to areas where they used to inhabit. Dolphins in the port of, how do you pronounce that, Cagliari, ducks in the fountains in Rome, and obviously the canals in Venice. Air pollution. So we were looking at air pollution. So let's have a look. This is the Evening Standard, actually. What are they saying? So they're talking about cleaner air and liberated wildlife. Elsewhere in Europe, cities including Paris, Madrid, and Milan have all seen a reduction in average levels of nitrogen dioxide. So that was from March 14th to 25th, compared with the same period last year, according to new satellite images. That's interesting. So these images were released by the European Space Agency, show the changing density of the harmful gas, which is emitted when fossil fuels are burnt. That's a really interesting page. So you could go on and have a look at that. I'm looking at the Guardian newspaper. Their headline is actually, "Nature is sending us a message, coronavirus." And they've got their main page there is, they've got a big photograph of the logging that is going on in Malaysia. So they're taking down vast areas of rainforest and planting palm oil plantations. And they're saying it's time that this needs to stop. Nature is sending us a message with the coronavirus pandemic and the ongoing climate crisis. According to the UN's Environment Chief, Inge Andersen, says humanity was placing too many pressures on the natural world with damaging consequences, and warned that failing to take care of the planet meant not taking care of ourselves. The COVID-19 was a clear warning shot, given that far more deadly diseases existed in wildlife and that today's civilization was playing with fire. So that's a really interesting document, actually. So that's that was the Guardian today, Guardian newspaper. The BBC, they've got a really interesting video that they have done with Chris Packham, and Chris talks about the very similar thing, so the positive side of coronavirus, and he's saying to people, look, you've got a chance to spend time in your gardens, if you are lucky to have a garden and you can access an area of wildlife local to you. Just stand for a minute. This is what I do. Stand for a minute and just shut your eyes and just listen. For the first time in a very, very long time, you will hear just birds. Just this amazing stereo sound going on of birds. When do you ever hear just wildlife, where there are no cars driving past, no planes up above? It's amazing. So if you just stand in an area and shut your eyes and just listen, you will hear so many different species all around you. And it's spring, so that's that birds are out and they're mating and they're nesting and they're laying eggs, and oh, it's fabulous to be able to hear wildlife around us like we have never heard it before, and hopefully never will hear it for these reasons. So try and get out. Try when you're on your walk or you're having your daily exercise, just try and listen to the wildlife around you. At the moment, it's fantastic. And that's what Chris Packham is talking about. The wildlife around, go out and try and identify some bird species. Go online, get your mum and dad to get you an app. different bird sounds. Try and identify the different calls, the different songs, and you'll even hear birds communicating with each other. So you'll start to recognize different songs and sounds. So that's really nice. Try and listen to Chris Packham's interview. And finally, what am I looking at here? I was going to talk about I can't find the page now. Oh, our Greta Thunberg, who has her Instagram account, and she is talking about the coronavirus. And let me just read her last post. So she says, we can't solve a crisis without treating it as a crisis, and we must unite behind experts and science. This, of course, goes for all crises. Now, the experts urge us to avoid big public gatherings for a better chance to flatten the curve and slow the spread of the coronavirus. So I personally recommend that we do as the experts say, especially in high-risk areas. We young people are the least affected by this virus, but it's essential that we act in solidarity with the most vulnerable and that we act in the best interest of our common society. The climate and ecological crisis is the biggest crisis humanity has ever faced. But for now, of course, depending on where you live, we'll have to find new ways to create public awareness and advocate for change that doesn't involve too big crowds. So listen to local authorities. So keep your numbers low, but your spirits high, and let's take 1 week at a time. So there are some links there. You can join the digital strike for upcoming Fridays. Post a photo of you striking with a sign and using the hashtag #ClimateStrikeOnline. And there's some really interesting things on her Instagram page. So that's what I wanted to say to you really this month. And we will go back to, I don't want to say normal, because I don't think that going back to normal is the right thing to do. I think once we get through this, we need to really learn. We need to really have learned lots of things from this crisis, this situation. And we need to go back to some sort of normal, but not the lifestyle that we were leading before this happened. Perhaps we can talk a little bit more about those things next month. There's my my buzzer, so I'll go now, but take care, keep busy. We will be releasing some exciting new educational materials soon, and it's a project that's called Science with Sea-Watch, and we will be telling you all about that in our next newsletter. We really would love it if you joined us on our Facebook page, our Adopt a Dolphin Facebook page, although very shortly that Facebook page will be sort of joining forces with the Sea-Watch Foundation Facebook page. So I hope that you will join us on our Adopt a Dolphin page or our Sea-Watch page, and there's going to be lots of new exciting educational materials being released really soon, so fingers crossed. Okay, lovely to speak to you. Take care, stay safe, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.